Hello, this is Annabelle Drum and welcome to the Channel, the place where we take a good look at intuition and how we can use it to get the leading edge in work and play. And today I have with me Sarah Bierman from California. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, glad to be here.
Thank you
Excited
for coming
to be
along.
Talking with you.
Yeah, this is great. Now, you work as an intuitive and a trainer and a coach and a healer and all sorts of fascinating things. Tell me about how it started out for you in finding these skills that were different from everybody else.
I knew when I was young that something was different because there was a lot of drama in my house, and I would watch my parents and with each other and with other friends. I'd watch them and listen to them conversing with each other, and I'd be thinking, why are they completely lying to each other? And I had a particular face I made when I was thinking, what the heck is the matter with these people? And my mom took a picture of it, which I'll show you because she liked the picture. And that's me.
This is essentially
I'm sitting on a couch and looking up at the adults and going, right.
Oh, that is so... did they not notice that you were kind of like... I
don't think they figured out what it was.
They were too busy talking, too busy lying.
Yeah, right. And there was, like I said, there was a lot of drama going on. My mom got cancer. Oh. My parents divorced. It was very ugly, and all of that was going on about when that picture was taken. So I learned a lot of skills because of being in a challenging home situation, especially with my mother, because she could be hit or miss. I never knew whether she was going to be the nice mom or the mad mom. And I remember, this was when I was much older, like a teenager, I would walk home from school and I'd stop at the door to the house and I'd put my hand on the doorknob and I'd wait and go, okay, is there anything she could get mad at me about? And in my mind, I was trying to think, was there anything that I might be walking into that's going to explode in my face? But I realized later that I was perceiving, intuiting the energy in the house.
I was wondering about that, whether you're tuning in, because was it a metal doorknob?
Oh, interesting, yes. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, picking up on the vibe inside the house.
Yeah, I don't know if that was part of it or just, it was like, okay, don't open the door yet. You've got to make sure you're going to be safe going in there. And it became a challenge for me. And I know a lot of people complain about this, that it's really hard to be in large groups. Mm. So, if you're reading every single person because you're trying to make sure you're safe, and it's become a habit to try to sort out and intuit if you're safe with every single person, going into a large restaurant is exhausting. Mm. Going just about anywhere, And a friend of mine who is quite psychic and intuitive said, you know what? You can't do that all the time. We're going to go to this large restaurant. It was an Outback, fake Aussie food. And it's a big restaurant. And there's a big bar in the middle of a big U-shaped bar in the middle of all the dining tables. And she said, don't read anybody. Just come in and enjoy the meal. And it was so lovely. The noise didn't seem to bother me. The conversations around me didn't irritate me by their volume or whatever. And I was able to stay longer than I normally would. And I walked out of there feeling great. So it was.
So you can turn it off.
Experience. Thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot. I think a lot of people actually have this ability to some level, and actually learn to turn it off at a very young age.
Yeah. We do get discouraged, I think, or we get told that it's not normal, when in fact it might actually be very normal. We just don't talk about it, or we're suspicious of it, or whatever. So the work that you started doing when you left school, was that kind of like everyday kind of work, or did you get straight into the spiritual side of things? What were you doing?
Work was everyday kind of work. I worked in employment agency. I did some middle management in the marketing company, that kind of stuff. But the intuitive, not really psychic, but that empathic. I was still working on developing the empathic part, and also working to not have to feel all this energy that's around me. When I was in college, I wanted to do to major in art therapy because I'm an artist, and I was interested in psychology and that type of stuff. My dad was a psychologist and so forth, so I was raised in it. But when I went in to observe the children and write reports, I would get so caught in their poor little lifetimes and how their dad mistreated them or whatever it was, and the kids crying. And at the same time, I was teaching preschool part-time. And, one little boy would come in and he'd be 10 minutes late every day and go in the bathroom and throw up. And it comes out that the dad would force him to eat this huge breakfast before school, before preschool. And then he came in every day and threw it up, and the wife felt powerless to do anything about it. And I would come home from work crying.
Yeah.
So that same friend who took me into the restaurant discovered something called loving communications, which I don't think actually exists anymore. It's basically good listening skills. That's part of it. Learning how to keep your attention on the person, and also how to reflect back to them or mirror back to them
without absorbing
they know that you're, and to be able to be part of the class also was to be so self-aware of your own emotions and go, oh, wait a minute, is that mine?
Right. It's an empath's training, isn't it? To make sure you don't absorb everything and end up like a heavy sponge at the end of the day. Yeah.
God, more than that, end up a squashed slug at the end of the day.
Well, it sounds like you had a good friend there, the perfect friend you needed for that time. Yeah.
Exactly.
But when you said that you were using your intuition and things through those times, was it useful in other ways?
Yes. One of the things that I did, not quite professionally, was train horses when I was younger. And I had a special contact with the horses. Somebody would be on their horse, and the horse would be spooky, getting scared of things, acting agitated and all that. And I somehow had a very calming effect on the horses, and I sort of got a sense of why they were misbehaving, and so could figure out a way to help the horse. And mostly it wasn't the horse's problem, of course, it was the human's problem. That was a more challenging thing to try to figure out, and figure out how to help them to not be crazy and
crazy horse
excited.
It's the crazy horse owner's trainer, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So all of those things sort of came in. I didn't start doing my work, which my brand is called Imagi-creation, which is a combination of imagination and creation. And when you put the two words together, in the middle of it is MAGIC. At the end of imagine, the beginning of creation. So
magic in the middle.
Is magic in the middle.
Fabulous.
And as an artist, I'm very visual. So I see things, and I've learned to interpret the language of what I see. I mentally see things. I'm not walking around looking at auras with these eyes, but I'll get an image in my mind. So I've been doing this for over 14 years.
Wow. And what was it that flipped you into that side of things? Did you know absolutely that you needed to get out of regular work and move into the spiritual side of things, or yeah?
I had gotten out of regular work before because I became a full-time mom for a while. Three little
For a
kids.
while? Does it ever stop?
Oh, God. Good point. But for a while, it was quite the full-time job. I was doing some part-time work, painting murals, which was fun, but I wasn't doing full-time work. And I realized that when the time came when I did have all kids in school and I could work, I didn't feel like I could go back into that environment again. It just didn't fit anymore. I gained a lot of confidence, and it seemed like this is the time when I can take a chance and go out there and see if I can make this work.
Yeah.
Years and years of counseling friends for free.
Yeah, you'd built up your skills
Finally.
then too. Do you wonder if it has
Exactly.
anything to do with having children as well? Because I know for me that once I got pregnant, I immediately started listening inside a lot more. It's not just about what your body needs to eat, but in all sorts of different ways. Yeah. Do you think?
That makes sense, because when the baby's inside of you, you don't have an image, you don't have a thing in front of you that you can focus on outside of you, but you're really curious about, who is this little being that is growing inside of me? And so you can't use your outside senses. So that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
So anybody who's thinking about using their intuition, either professionally as an intuitive counselor or in their other work environment, if you're thinking about coming out of the intuitive closet, you could say, it takes a lot of courage. I want to acknowledge that. When I started, for months and months, I just thought, oh my God, I'm a fraud. The first person who actually paid me for a session, I was in a total flop sweat. After they hung up the phone, it was on the phone, I sobbed because I thought, oh, I'm such a disaster. Nobody will ever pay me again.
Did they get anything out of it? Were they happy with it?
I got an email from them saying, oh my God, that was the most amazing experience of my life. You're brilliant.
Just what you needed, really.
Exactly. So take a chance. And here's an example of a time when I took a chance early on in my career. I was working with a woman who's German in Germany, and she had always been sort of accused of being the wacky, woo-woo person in the family, and not being normal. And at one point like I said, I'm very visual. So I said, okay, I got this strong vision of her with the moon in front of her. And it was maybe the size of a basketball. And she was supposed to put the moon behind her. And I thought, well, this is crazy. I'm not going to say that to her. She's going to really figure out that I'm a fraud. But I took a chance. I took that courage and I said, all right, I don't know what this means, but here's what I saw. She started laughing so hysterically. It popped so much energy for her, because the phrase in German for somebody who's not quite there 100% is they say you're behind the moon. Oh. And her whole life people had said, you're just a little behind the moon. So
she was told to put it behind her.
Put it behind her. And it was just an amazing moment where, oh my God, that actually worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at how many people will be open to your willingness to offer something you might get intuitively.
How is it that you find what does it feel like for you to tune in and pick up that kind of a message? Well, you're saying it's a vision that comes through. So is there is there a method, like if we were trying to tell people how you do it? Because I found that each person has a different way of doing it. So if people watch all the interviews, then there might be something that they can pick up on which will work for them. How is it that you are tuning into those visions coming through?
Got it. For me, like I said, it is very visual, but I also have a physical body sense of it. And most of the people I've worked with teaching classes on channeling or intuiting and all of that groovy stuff is to feel it in your body. Usually it's around the solar plexus area. But so the way I would suggest you find what that message is for you, because it's unique for each person. And so the way to do that... Is it
relaxing and getting into it?
Yeah, I'm not going to lead anybody, because I'd like to let the people who are watching this have a chance to try it on their own and see what they feel. So what I'd like you to do is close your eyes if you can, and just think about something that you know is a blatant lie. And just sort of notice what you feel in your body. Some people, sometimes they have a little movement of their head. They feel a tightening somewhere. And then think about something that not only is true, but that you love, that you feel very good about. And feel that in your body. And for me and for most of the people, it's a tightening with a no or a lie, and sort of an opening or a softening with a yes or a truth. And practice is how you develop it. Start with something small. Don't be thinking, okay, I've got to determine whether or not my husband is truly cheating on me. No, not something that has a whole lot of emotional intensity to it. Little things. Which route on the way home will end up getting me home sooner today? Mm-hmm. And then, is it to the right? Nope, that's tight. To the left? Oh, that feels open. Mm-hmm. Listening to your body that way when you're thinking of eating things.
Is this good for my body right now?
Yeah, body. Body. Do you want this right now? Mm. Body.
Chocolate.
Or that. Yeah, and sometimes
chocolate is right. Sometimes
our bodies want things and need things that are not what our mind thinks is healthy. Mm. Yeah. So when you put is this healthy for you? That adds a filter to it.
Right.
That invites good, bad, right, wrong, healthy, unhealthy, which have huge paradigms of all sorts, vegetarian, paleo, what's it going to be? Mm. So body, just do you desire this now? Would you like to eat this? Boom. Would this be good for you or us or however you want to call it? I think of my soul as being separate from the consciousness of my body, so I can talk to my body. So if you practice doing that and getting that sense, yes or no is the same as truth and lie. And then in your life, as you're practicing it, you need to be conscious of it. To learn a new skill, you have to be conscious of it for a while. That means you have to actually decide, I'm going to practice this every day for a while, even if it's just little things.
Just to get in the habit? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and to develop mostly it's the trust for what skills, what intuition you already have. And then it becomes habitual. But before, you were habitually not using it before, so you have to become conscious and change that habit. But there's a period of time when you have to be, focusing on it, conscious on it, and then it gets to a place where it's habit again.
Yeah, and again is the key word there, I think, because when we look at that little picture of you as a child, and you saw how many lies there were in the world, that as we all go to work, whatever environment it is, there's lies happening all the time, and sometimes they're really obvious, sometimes they are on purpose to deliberately mislead, and other times they're just, I don't want you to feel bad, so I'm going to tell you something else,
Exactly.
Probably like your neighbors, like your mum and the neighbor, that kind of idea of being diplomatic. And so sometimes the diplomatic thing is to try and figure out, we notice the lie through the intuition, what are we going to do with it? Sometimes, right? Because sometimes we'll look at, for me, if I pick up on a lie and I'll go, well, I understand why. They're trying to make me feel good, and so I'll let it slip. But I'll work my way around it such that I'm not acknowledging that it's truth, but I kind of get it and we'll just move on. Or other times it's worth saying, no, you're lying to yourself. The thing you just said there is not correct. Particularly when you get people that are saying, I'm just useless, or I can never do that, or not, I can never do that. That's not really a lie, but in terms of, I could never get that right, or not always that way, or if they're deliberately trying to mislead you, do you choose to say, you're lying?
A good thing to think about, because you sort of have to feel out each situation. And I always think, what can that person hear? What can they receive?
Yeah, and no matter what you say, sometimes they're not going to pick up on it, right?
Yeah, right. If you say, that's not true to me, they could just blow their brains away. They don't think, what are you talking about? You're crazy, whatever. You don't want to offer any information to somebody that they're not willing or ready to receive, like advice, because they will take it and send it back to you at you with daggers attached, is what I say. So be very careful about how much you let it out, how much you know. I think it's really a good idea to start with less. Let yourself go, okay, this is this, and how do I deal with it on the inside before you start going and confronting anybody in the outside world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be confronting. You can just say, are you sure that's true? Are you sure that's the way that is?
That's a great question, because sometimes they do have to stop and go, first of all, oh, am I telling myself a lie here? Or they might be saying, oh, she might have picked up on this. Ooh, well, start tap dancing.
Yeah, and always less is more. So if you don't push it at that point, if that person starts to go, oh God, I may be busted, or they start to go, well, wait a minute, maybe that isn't true. I mean, I've already been told that.
Exactly.
Don't push more. Just drop your little truth bomb. No, maybe you shouldn't call it a bomb. Let's see, call it a gem, a little truth gem.
I like that.
Yeah. And keep in mind that gems, when you drop them, if a human is a vessel, say a glass of water, and you drop a gem into it, and the water represents old emotional stuff, you drop the gem into it, things can splash out. And that means that even though you're coming from a really sincere, integrous point of view, people can splash out at you. You can see their negative stuff. And I know you've had this experience where other people, suddenly you're your support person professionally, and then they are flowing their anger at you. They have anger. They have no safety to have that anger anywhere else in their life. So they put your face on it because you're not going to hurt them. So there's a lot of subtleties to it. But I would say, if I were to give any advice, I said, don't do that. The one, the practice, start with something small. And as far as sharing what you're getting, less is more.
That's very good tips. Thank you very much for joining us today,
My
Sarah.
pleasure.
It's wonderful. And I'll put your website address at the bottom of the interview as well.
Yay.
Yay.
Alrighty.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.